Polity/Governance. Former President Pranab Mukherjee on Nationalism, part of Main's essay and GSII, Nationalism, Secularism and Tolerance. Key points: secularism and inclusion were a matter of faith to the country. Any attempts at defining our nationhood in terms of dogmas and identities of religion, region, hatred, and intolerance will only lead to dilution of our national identity. Our national identity has emerged through a long, drawn process of confluence, assimilation, and coexistence. We derive our strength from tolerance. We accept and respect our pluralism. We celebrate our diversity. These have been a part of our collective consciousness for centuries. Constitution is not merely a legal document but a Magna Carta of socio-economic transformation. It represents the hopes and aspirations of billion-plus Indians. From our Constitution flows our nationalism. The construct of Indian nationalism is constitutional patriotism, which consists of an appreciation of our inherited and shared diversity. The soul of India resides in pluralism and tolerance. Important value additions. Yegbada recommends you to finish following the chapters from Class 11 NCERT Political Science Political Theory Chapter 7 Nationalism, Class 11 NCERT Political Theory Chapter 8 Secularism, Class 11 NCERT Political Theory. Lateral entry into civil services. Part of Main's GS paper II, Civil Services Reform. Key pointers. The government has opened the doors of bureaucracy to skilled people from the private sector, inviting applications for 10 senior level posts. The post of the Joint Secretary, crucial to policy making and implementation of government programs, is filled by career bureaucrats, who usually join the service after passing exams conducted by the Union Public Service Commission. Those eligible includes individuals working at comparable levels in private sector companies, consultancy organizations, international/multinational organizations above the age of 40 years and with a minimum of 15 years experience. The posts are also open to officials of any state or union territory government who are already working at equivalent level, and individuals working at comparable levels in public sector undertakings, autonomous bodies, universities and research institutes. The recruitment will be done on contract basis for 3 to 5 years. Recruitment will be made for 10 departments, including revenue, financial services, economic affairs, commerce and civil aviation. The idea of lateral entry into bureaucracy has been under discussion on and off for years, but this is the first time it has been acted upon. The government has said it is keen on it to bring in fresh ideas and new approaches to governance. The step has been hailed as a welcome step that would bring in the much-needed field experts in governance, but critics have pointed out the system can only work if the method of selection is impartial, objective and transparent. Lateral entry, civil services reform. In news, the government has mooted the idea of allowing lateral entry from academia and the private sector at the Joint Secretary level. The Department of Personnel and Training's called for applications to fill 10 Joint Secretary level posts in various departments. This is both welcome and inadequate to address India's governance challenges. Background: the idea of lateral induction is not new. It was recommended by the Second Administrative Reform Commission, high-level committees appointed by different governments and a plethora of think tanks. Lateral entries in past: the Indira Gandhi government started this in the 1970s, when Yogendra Kailap, then a teacher in Ahmedabad, was appointed the head of the Prospective Planning Division of the Planning Commission. Other outsiders of note are former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, economist Montek Singh Ahluwalia, who ushered in transformative economy reforms, Sam Pitroda, credited for the telecom revolution in India, and more recently, Nandan Nilekani, the co-founder of Infosys, whom the UPA brought in to head the IDEA AI project. The case for lateral entry is strong. Civil servants enter public service as generalists and gain experience through district and state level postings. While this offers strong grounding in grassroots realities and effective coordination, building specific domain expertise starts quite late for career bureaucrats. Frequent transfers discourage specialized knowledge. Short tenures provide little opportunity for it. The function and form of any governance institution is shaped by the political and economic contexts it works within. These contexts have changed dramatically over the decades. Validating Patil's conception of the Indian Administrative Services IA's role as a binding agent in a newly independent nation that was wildly heterogeneous and traumatized was of its time. The old, existential threats no longer exist. Indian federalism has changed accordingly, both politically and economically. The bureaucracy is in many cases ill-suited to the rapidly changing nature of technologized economic progress and governance. Lateral entry is essential to infuse fresh vigor into this closed Mandarin system. Positive, the opening up of the services is a chance to induct talented individuals who have experience and specialization in the exact field they will be hired for. Those hired would be experts in their domains, would have a proven record of competence. Coming from the private sector, will bring in fresh perspective and new ideas. People hired this way will always have the option of going back to their old jobs, and thus can stand up to their political bosses in a way that is difficult for government servants. The new move gives the people, who do not have the luxury to devote years to preparing for one exam, a fresh chance to serve the nation, after honing their talent in the private sector. At present, the numbers to be inducted are relatively small, around 40. However, this may help tide over the current deficit of middle-level officers in the central government. It is both a workaround for the civil service's structural failings and an antidote to the complacency that can set in a career-based service. Criticism: this would open a side door for the government to appoint its favored people to important posts, would promote nepotism, and could even be a way to bypass reservation for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe candidates. Way ahead, lateral entry shouldn't descend into nepotism and politicization of bureaucracy. The recruitment and selection process must be transparent and involve an autonomous body like the Union Public Service Commission to minimize the risk of political considerations trumping merit. This is the route the UK, Australia and New Zealand have taken, and the Second Administrative Reforms Committee has recommended as much. The inevitable pushback from the IAs will also have to be managed. Lateral entries are not a panacea. Lateral entries can buttress the IAs. They cannot replace it. Technocratic skills are important, but so is the IA's unduplicable experience of ground-level governance in India. From rewarding performance to curbing the culture of political patronage, reforms are necessary. Without this, the private sector talent will not be able to make up for the deficiencies of a bureaucracy low on morale, performance and reputation. Administrative reforms must accompany lateral entry. There should be periodic reviews of mid-career officers to weed out undirt for mirth. IA's monopolies in ministries like home, S&T, sports, etc. must go, and other cadres deserve consideration too. Connecting the dots, the IAs has long been an outreach hour. Opening the new door to it will prove to be a good idea, for the bureaucracy and for the country. Comment. Restructuring of the Northeastern Council, part of Maine's GS paper II. Politiki pointers. Northeastern Council. The Cabinet has decided that Home Minister will now head the Northeastern Council, while Minister in charge of Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region Donor will be the co-chair. Under the new arrangement, with Home Minister as chairman and Minister of Donor as vice chairman, NEC and all the governors and chief ministers of the northeastern states as members would provide a forum for discussing interstate matters more comprehensively and also consider common approaches to be taken in the future. NEC can now perform the tasks undertaken by the various zonal councils to discuss interstate issues as drug trafficking, smuggling of arms and ammunition, boundary disputes, etc. About NEC, the council is a statutory body with governors and chief ministers of all the 8 northeastern states as its members. NEC implements various projects through the state and central agencies.